Tired of waiting and waiting and waiting just to see how the weather will be tomorrow? First Alert No Wait Weather with Austin Reed has you covered. Get tomorrow's forecast and the 5-day outlook in less than a minute and at a convenient time. Weeknights between 6 and 10 p.m. only on KVHF 4, KVDC 13, KPID 31, and VTV Fresno. First Alert No Wait Weather, brought to you exclusively by the Ventura Broadcasting Company.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the low-price leading brand's reliable advice place. The Frigidaire Gallery Dream Kitchen Get Yours Today place. You with me? Right now, get huge savings on select Frigidaire Gallery appliances and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months at the hometown low price think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Hi, I'm John Malos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Today, a very special program. Hope you call in at 436-ME-TV, option 11. This is a topic today that affects everyone. I'm talking about love and marriage, my friends, the main characteristics of having a successful relationship or one that's going south. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in just a moment. Welcome back here on the program on Connect with me on MeTV Fresno. So glad you are here on a Friday morning, the weekend upon us already. And I got to say, just a quick note about last night's National Football League game on CBS between the 49ers and Seahawks. My goodness, if you're a 49er fan, you know what? Throw everything out the window and start all over again, from the ownership to the front office to the coaching to even the players. Yep, they don't have the players to win, but they don't have the ownership or the general manager to get it done either. Just a pathetic performance by the 49ers. We may talk about that and also Fresno State football here on this program in the coming weeks with a couple of experts talking about what has gone wrong in San Francisco. Brand new stadium. Super Bowl 50 will take place there in February. It's unbelievable. The 49ers won't be anywhere within 100 miles of that stadium on Super Bowl Sunday. I got to tell you that. Anyway, today, special program. But first, before we get into that, we're going to tell you that each and every Monday through Friday, you can watch us on Comcast 375 or Xfinity, if you want to call it that. Over-the-air broadcast 43.6, 13.1. Replay comes later in the day if you want to take part in that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6. 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. You can watch us in prime time while you are watching the American League Championship Series between Kansas City and Toronto. It will be Game 6 tonight. And you've got two TVs. I know you do. You can watch them both at the same time. Hey, the Twitter account hasn't changed at John Malos, MeTV. Hey, time to check in with our guy Austin Reed now from the Justice Network. He's here directing our show today, but he's got today's weather forecast, which you can watch every Monday through Friday on the Justice Network starting at 5 o'clock. So what's happening today and over the weekend? Here's Austin.
Yeah, hi there, John. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it to the end of the work week. Austin Reed here in the First Alert No Wait Weather Center. So yesterday, it was beautiful across the Central Valley. Fresno made it to 81 degrees, and it was sunny. Today, we are going to see a little bit of a change. That's because some high cloud cover is moving in from Northern California. So here's your forecast for this Friday, the 23rd of October, just a few days from Halloween now. Can you believe that? 83 is the expected high in Fresno. Tonight will drop down to the high 50s and it will be partly cloudy. Coming up tonight in No Wait Weather, I'll have your weekend forecast plus a statewide travel outlook and a viewer photo of the day. I'll see you then. Have a great weekend, everybody. For now, I'm Austin Reed here in the First Alert No Wait Weather Center. John, I'll send it back to you. See you next week.
And there's our full screen graphic. You can see for yourself all the channels. We have up to 25 channels now, but the Justice Network starting at 5 o'clock. Austin Reed will give you the weather and some news updates as well, Monday through Friday here on the Ventura Broadcasting Network. And so today, my friends, we're going to talk about love and marriage, all those relationships that you've had in the past, or maybe you've only had one. I'm talking about your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Are you good? Are you successful at having a relationship that flourishes over the course of time? Or are you like me? Are you divorced? You know, many of us are. The latest figures that I read on the internet last night were was the fact that more than 50% of the country ends up in divorce. These marriages, they don't last for whatever reason. People are marrying for the wrong reasons. But when I got married, I figured it was for life. I've only been married once, but you know what? People make mistakes. Something happens down the road. I don't know. So let's put up a full screen and check out for yourself what are the characteristics. These are the relationship tips from our expert today. You've got to have love. You've got to have romance. You most certainly have to have respect. Without respect, everything else goes out the window, right? You've got to have that passion. If the passion isn't there, then maybe that person is not for you. Maybe it's just a friendship. You most certainly should have empathy, understanding, acceptance, and yes, the friendship should be there. You've got to be friends, because friendship starts, it's like a flower that starts blooming. It starts with friendship and expands out from there. Okay, back in the 80s or 90s, there was a radio program on the air, and I think it's still on. She talks about love, marriage, relationships with your boyfriend, your husband. You know, she got call-ins from all over the country talking about their personal lives on the air, on live radio at night. I used to listen to her. Her name, Delilah, remember?
Radio is so intimate. It's you and a microphone. Even my engineers aren't there messing with me at night. Everything is set, and it's just me and a microphone.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Delilah Show. What can I do for you tonight?
Well, let me tell you, my girlfriend and I, her name is Danielle, we've been together for about 10 months now, and I'm getting ready to ask her the big question.
The show that I do is different than anything else you'll hear on radio because it's real. They're real people who call with real situations, and then I pick a song that lyrically goes with that situation and kind of give it back to you on the air as a gift. If you were to Google Delilah and find a true portrait of who I am, it would probably say mother, grandmother, radio host, artist, farmer, cook, hairstylist, and collector of really strange things.
All right, love and marriage. Here he is, live in the studio, Peter Nazaretian, a marriage and family therapist. He's been around for a long time talking and counseling people about this and much more. He is from the Fig Garden Counseling Center. He's been here before. He's a regular on our program talking about love and marriage, my friends. If you're having problems in your relationship, your marriage, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you think that they might be cheating. Hey, what are some of the signs? Oh, my goodness. This is not the show Cheaters. It is Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. You have it on the right channel, Comcast 375, but today we have to tackle this very important issue about how to make a successful marriage or even relationship if you are not planning on getting married. 436 MeTV option 11, and need I say, we've all been there, right? Back in just a moment.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. The Justice Network is seen here in Fresno and made possible by the Ventura Broadcasting Company. To see how law enforcement all across Central California are fighting crime, watch Local Choice with Austin Reed, where you'll see interviews and special reports with those who keep us safe every day. Local Choice with Austin Reed, daily on the Justice Network, Fresno, exclusively on KVBC Channel 13.5.
The new Frigidaire Professional line at Ventura TV Video Appliance. Enjoy generous-sized cooktops and sauté or simmer with ease, while true convection ovens offer even baking and juicy roasting perfection. Foods stay their freshest in spacious refrigerators with convenient controls and clear filtered ice and water. Easy to clean surfaces reduce fingerprints, and the quietest of dishwashers makes cleanup a snap. The new Frigidaire Professional line at Ventura TV Video Appliance.
Oh, man, we've all been there, right, Peter?
We have.
Oh, my goodness gracious sakes alive, relationships. That's, you know, that I would say that across the country, that's probably the #1 issue or problem facing people. And when I'm out to dinner, let's say, I'm out to lunch or something, grabbing a bite to eat, and I see a couple, and they're laughing, and they seem so happy. Sometimes I get jealous. I said, why couldn't that have been me?
Well,
is that a natural reaction?
Oh, of course. We can be envious of people who seem happy, especially if we're not. But
it's not that I'm not happy. It's just that, wow, look at that. I'd love to have that.
In a relationship, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you live in a cave in Montana, relationships are the basis of everybody's life. You have relationships with everybody, of course, a wife, a husband, a girlfriend, boyfriend, but with the neighbor, with the front desk clerk, with a cab driver, with your boss, with your friends at work, with the neighbor. You have relationships with everybody. Some are more superficial than others, obviously, but everything is a relationship. To the extent that we're good at having relationships is the extent to which we have a successful life. Now, obviously, put that in an intimate relationship, like a husband or wife or a girlfriend and boyfriend, it's that much more important. But still, if you can't have a successful relationship just walking around in the world, life ain't that great. So relationships are everything.
Well, I mean, you've been on this program many times. You've been on this program several times in the last year or so. And you see, we don't always see eye to eye here with the crew. Sometimes, you know, there are mistakes, their tempers flare. But we still like one another. We get along, we work together. We want to put the best product on the air.
Right.
Is that normal?
Sure. Well, normal for anybody who cares. If you want to have a good relationship, or you want to have, whether it's with your colleagues or your coworkers or your husband or your wife, if you want to have a good relationship, it's entirely possible that you will, because that awareness of wanting to have one means everything. Most people who don't have successful relationships don't even know what they are, don't work at them because they don't know that there's work to be done.
Are there people who don't have successful relationships with anyone?
Goodness, all over the place, of course,
Really?
of course. Of course. You know some of them. They just can't seem to sustain long-term relationships. They get
But
into...
I'm not talking about a boyfriend or girlfriend. I'm talking about anybody, whether it be a friend or a colleague or... Really?
There are some people who they can't communicate well. That's a huge piece of it. They don't understand. They don't read people well. That's a piece of it. They don't like themselves very much, so they project that on other people and push them away. That's part of it. Lots of reasons. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I care about this program. Austin cares about this program. We all care about the program. Mark Sheeran, the one who developed, the person who developed this program, he cares. We all care, and we love this program. We love our audience. And so it's natural to have this natural friction sometimes because we're all trying to achieve the same goal.
Yeah.
So that's a natural thing,
Yes.
a natural progression, and we're trying to make the show better.
Well, if you don't have a certain amount of friction, and that's maybe a strong word, but interaction and differences, if you don't have a certain amount of that, everything's vanilla, which is kind of nice, but a relationship that's vanilla and bland is usually just that. It's there's not much to it. You know, when you look at somebody, you're talking about being in a restaurant and seeing a couple that seem to be enjoying themselves and laughing.
Right.
There's something there. There's something crackling going on there. They like each other. They're excited about each other. There's some dynamic tension.
Right.
They're not just sitting there. And you've seen this too. A couple sitting there and they're just, you know, eating their soup and nobody's talking to anybody and she checks her phone once in a while. Vanilla. They've lost it.
Yeah.
Got to have a certain amount of passion.
I want to put those graphics back up on the air that I had in the monologue because they're so important. And I was reading this last night, some of the graphics here that you sent us. Okay, let's talk about love. And I'm talking about a marriage. I'm talking about a relationship between a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman. In this day and age, we have to accept all and any that comes our way.
That's correct.
So, love. How important is love?
Well, love is the basic ingredient. If you're looking at a relationship as a recipe, a chicken dish, love is the chicken. And
Okay.
without that, you don't have much of a relationship. You don't have much of a dish. So you've got to have that basic piece. Love is the thing that ties it all together. Without that, you don't have the main ingredient.
What does romance mean? Does that mean I have to go out and romance my girlfriend, romance my wife? What does that word mean?
Romance is probably you'll get a kick out of this. Romance means an awful lot more to women than to men because women like it. They enjoy the excitement, the stimulation, the fun. For guys, it's
Well, what is romance, and what are you talking about? And how do women view it differently than men?
Let me give you an interesting concept here. When I worked in the hospital for many years,
Hang on 1 second, caller. Hang on. I hear some kids in the background there.
so that worked obviously.
Hang on.
I would ask 3 questions to primarily to women. I would say, if I ask the average male what is intimacy, what's he going to tell me? Inevitably, the word was sex. That was it. For men, intimacy equals sex. I asked 10,000 women that question. I never had a different answer. I would have thought law of averages said once in a while I would have heard something differently. I didn't. Every
Okay.
time. I asked, then a second question, if I asked the average female what is intimacy? Loving, touching, cuddling, hugging, walking on the beach, holding hands, snuggling, solving problems, talking to each other. It was everything but sex. Everything but. So that just
With
showed-
every woman?
Everyone. I never had a different answer.
And everyone with the man was sex?
It shocked the heck out of me. 10,000. I asked 10,000 women, John. 10,000 women. I never had a different answer. It shocked me. I thought once in a while the law of averages, you're going to get a different. I never did.
So that's what I was doing wrong all those years.
Apparently.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. What's your well, you were there. 436 Me TV option 11. Let's put the graphic back up on the screen if we could, because we need to go over some of those other interesting relationship tips. Okay, so romance is having fun, going out and maybe going to the state fair, going to the beach, going to a ball game, whatever the case may be, and you have fun, and you create a bond, right?
Yes, but it's not about going places and doing things. You can have romance just staying at home. The goal is to focus on each other's needs, whether we go out and have fun, which is great, or whether we just stay home and watch TV and snuggle. For a woman,
Right.
that's perfectly acceptable. I don't have to go someplace. I just snuggle with you.
Yeah.
If you want to be there, if you're not staring at your watch or your phone or the ball game, if you're focusing on what we're doing right now, that's great.
Yeah. How about respect? I think, this is my opinion. Correct me if I'm wrong, because
Go.
you're the expert here today. But if you don't have respect in a relationship, whether it be a friendship, a marriage, or whatever, if you don't respect the other person, don't all of those other factors go out the window?
Almost all of these without the others goes out the window. It's like a stool with 7 legs. They may stand up, but it's going to get shaky. But yes, respect is huge. And respect is huge in a romantic relationship, of course, but it's even more important in an interpersonal relationship because we don't have the love or the cuddling or the touching with our colleagues. Well, we probably shouldn't. But we do have mutual respect. I understand who you are and what your position in this company is, and how I'm trying to please you. Respect is the basis of most relationships.
And let me tell you about passion. Okay, in my opinion, and I'm no expert, but I just got to tell you, passion doesn't come along every day. You've heard the old term, if you break up with one young lady, they're like streetcars, another one will come along in another 5 minutes. But passion does not come along that often, in my opinion. Am I right or wrong?
Well, it depends on the individual, John. For some guys, passion.
Hang on, caller.
Passion amounts to sex, and women don't see it that way. Passion is the intensity of the relationship.
But beyond sex, passion for that person beyond sex doesn't come along that often.
I don't know. I think if you ask the average guy, he can get pretty passionate, several times a day. If you're talking about in an intimate,
Hang on, caller.
A relationship that really works well, passion is the fuel that keeps it going for years, and most people lose that. That's what I see. Because for the man, as I mentioned a moment ago, they look at the sex, and pretty soon it's not about romancing or taking you to dinner or even spending a little bit of time with you. It's just, I got 3 minutes, let's go. And for women, it's like I could do without it. I just do it because I love you and I want to be with you. So passion is important. It keeps the fuel going.
Hi, caller. You're on the air with Peter. Go ahead. Okay, apparently they didn't want to talk. Can we put up the graphic again? 436-MeTV option 11. Let me give you a little tip out there. If you do call in, please turn down the sound on your television set because we're getting feedback and you can't hear us. All right, back to the graphic, please. Empathy. What are you talking about when you mean empathy?
Caring about what somebody else feels.
Okay.
And sometimes men have a hard time with that, or some people who have a dominant personality have a hard time with that. They're pretty sure that what they think, feel, say, and do is the important thing, maybe the only thing in some cases. And if other people don't go along with them, they get a little bit uncomfortable and they start pushing it. So empathy is caring what the other person thinks, feels, says, and does, not just yourself. The focus has to be on the relationship, not on what I want. Of course, should you have some idea what you want? Of course, and so should they. But at some level, if I spend my time taking care of you and you spend your time taking care of me, we're going to do fine.
Yeah, and then trying to understand what that person either has gone through in their life or understanding what they're going through now. That's different than empathy.
Yes, understanding is grasping the concept of the empathy says this is how you feel. The understanding is this is what's going on. So those are two different things. And again, now we're starting to get into layers of relationships a lot of people don't understand. So, of course, they don't address it well because they're not realizing what the pieces are. So understanding the situation, that individual, how they operate, their limitations, things like that.
Yeah, okay. And then acceptance. Here's how I view acceptance. I don't know how you see it as a professional dealing with so many couples each and every day for many years. But I think acceptance is accepting that person for who they were in the past and who they are now and not judging them?
Yeah, very much so. And that's a hard thing to do. Remember, acceptance, even if somebody has a trait that you don't like, you know, your mother-in-law, you hate your mother-in-law, but, you know, because she's intrusive or whatever. And why you like that? I hate it when you're like that. Why do you have to be like that? All that energy says, I want you to change, instead of just saying, that's the way you are. When you accept somebody totally, the anxiety goes away because the anxiety comes from wanting you to be different. So if I just accept that's the way you are, it doesn't mean I like it, think it's good, or want more of it. It just says that's the way you are.
Don't try to change that person.
Can't anyway. Can't anyway. Can't change it. We can barely change ourselves if we know what we're doing. How can we change somebody else?
Yeah. And the last one that was up there is friendship. The way I look at this is, correct me if I'm wrong again, but we have many different things in common, such as sport. I like sports. Maybe I like going shopping. I like walking the beach. I like going down to Los Angeles and looking at the various sites down there that are historical. I might like going to San Francisco and walking the pier. Does my partner have to have the same type of interest in order for us to be friends?
Well, of course, it helps to have similar interests. No question about that, because that gives you a passion for ball games or whatever it might be. And if you happen to be with somebody who loves baseball, well, wow, you're beautiful and lovely, and I love you, and you love baseball.
Yeah,
you're my
and we're
dream
going
babe.
to games. Oh,
it's
my
great.
God.
But just having mutual things in common, it's very typical now for the woman to have her friends and she goes shopping, and the guy, you know, you heard the term golf widow, where he plays golf every weekend. Saturday and Sunday he plays golf, and she just rolls her eyes because he's home 2 days a week and he spends it playing golf. Well, that friendship isn't working very well, not because of mutual interest, because he doesn't really want to be there. So friendship says, I want to be with you. I like being with you. It's fun to hang out with you. And it doesn't matter if we're walking on the beach or watching a TV show. I like the way I feel when I'm with you. That's friendship.
Yeah. Peter Nazaretian is here. He is a marriage and family therapist, and he is from the Fig Garden Counseling Center. And your number is, before we go to break?
252-9700. One more time, 252-9700.
All right, and our telephone number here, 436-MeTV, option 11, if you want to join the conversation or ask Peter any kind of questions about love and marriage, my friends.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Frigidaire Gallery appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy.
Time for that upgrade to an Energy Star qualified French door Frigidaire Gallery refrigerator.
Quality appliances for the way you live. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. The Justice Network is seen here in Fresno and made possible by the Ventura Broadcasting Company. To see how law enforcement all across Central California are fighting crime, watch Local Choice with Austin Reed, where you'll see interviews and special reports with those who keep us safe every day. Local Choice with Austin Reed, daily on the Justice Network, Fresno, exclusively on KVBC Channel 13.5.
Going to meet our next guest. He's originally from Detroit. The two main requirements for a man are that he have a soft face and act like James Bond. Let's take a look at the tapes of Deidre. Sorry, remember, you're going to go vote again. First, there was Sheldon. He describes himself as a practical joker. His hobbies include jogging, composing, flying small planes. He avoids dating women with real short hair, and here's more from Sheldon.
Well, I'm really close to my family. The first thing I do with a new lady is I take her to meet my mom and my 3 sisters, and if they don't approve, I don't approve.
Next, there's Alan. His favorite pastime is playing with his computer. He thinks that women like him for his intelligence, sense of humor, and good manners. And here's how Alan lets a woman know that he wants to get romantic.
I love taking girls out. I buy them flowers, I open the door for them, and I treat them like a queen.
Finally, Daniel, like Deidre, is also from Detroit. He says that women love kissing his soft mustache, and he meets a lot of his dates while driving his car, like this time.
Here's the thing. I don't really date black ladies. I mean, nothing against her or anything, but it's just a little thing I have. Usually when I watch this show, they like to pair people up of the same race. So I don't know what this is all about. I guess I just gotta roll with it. Maybe I could come to a different taping or something.
All right, those are the 3 men that Deidre had to choose from. Time for you to vote. Who would you like to see her go out with?
Damn it! Hey! Looking forward to it.
Chuck Woolery. We'll be back in 2 and 2. Remember that back in the 80s? Who was that weirdo? What did he say? I don't date black people?
Yeah. And he got all
wow.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That takes me back in time, I'll tell you that. Caller, you're on the air. You've been patient?
Yeah, a direct question to Peter. Nowadays, let's say women over 40 are looking for the romance with someone that can provide income and a better life, where women under 30 are in the dating just to have a good time and not worry too much about that. So there's 2 different categories: women under 30 and men are looking just to have a good time, and women over 40 where they want to secure man where they can provide the love and the passion and whatnot, where, like I said, the ones under 30 just have a good time. Could that be true there, Peter?
Thank you for your call. Yeah, I suppose generally it is, and I don't know that that's terribly unusual. Women are charged with finding the best man they can. In the old days, like the caveman days, it was the tallest, fastest, strongest warrior. And why? Because those genes would give you the best baby. Nature just wants better species, so that makes sense. Nowadays, we don't have to forage in the forest for food. So a man who can provide is going to be somebody who can have a good job. Somebody can bring a couple of bucks in, make sure the bills are paid. So that's the equivalent. Should a woman look for that? Of course. Yeah. Should a man look for that? Sure.
You know what that reminds me of, though? The old Nazi regime trying to build a superior empire, a superior world with all these beings. Does that remind you of that?
Well, sure. And I mean, nature always wants to have the best.
Hang on, caller.
The best possible everything it wants to have.
Yeah.
We want to save the fern plant in the swamps of Georgia because it's going extinct. Nature doesn't care if it goes extinct. It's got 37 fern plants that are better than that one. There's a stand of timber in Maine with a spotted owl. Cut down those timber, the spotted owl goes away. Nature doesn't care. It's got 75 owls that are better than a spotted owl. We care. We want to save the snails and save the whales. Nobody else does.
All right. Love and Marriage, the program today here on Connect with Me. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this topic. Listening to you guys talk, your caller, your guest, he said that people don't pick women they used to pick the guy with, I guess you would say a good provider or just whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, I see one of the biggest things is that people just, like young people, probably, let's say under the age of 30, under the age of 40, maybe 35, they want to do everything so fast that they don't take the time to get to know each other. It's like they just, either they move in together after being together for 4 months, or they either have kids after, 6 months, and they don't know each other. And I've always heard that's one of the biggest things is that you can be with somebody for 25 years and not know that person. And these young people, it's like they get caught up in the romance and how everything feels and, let's move in together and do everything fast. And then, they end up like, 6, 7, 8 years later finding out things about a person, and they say, wow, they're just discovering that. Where if you just slow down and take the time to know somebody and know what they bring to the table in that relationship, you might give yourself a better chance of that relationship, lasting for long term.
That's a good point, caller, and I agree 1,000%, Peter. However, if you're 60 or 65 and you're looking for a partner, how much more time you got?
Well, thank you, caller, for that very rich question, because it brings up quite a few points. Number one, the very phenomenon that you're speaking of, this rush to get into a relationship or rush to have excitement and fun, is very much a phenomenon of the last 50 years. It wasn't until 1935 that more people lived in cities than on farms in this country. So for our grandfathers or great-grandfathers, as the case may be, you got married once because there was one eligible girl in the county, and 3 guys came over to court her, and one took her in a canoe, and one played a ukulele, and one, sang her a song. And, and they all tried to, get Mary Lou to marry them. And when they did, they moved to a farm, which was 10 miles from town, which was very small, and 125 miles from a medium-sized town. So who were you going to have an affair with, farm animals aside? So there wasn't options. So now people live in cities, thousands of people in housing developments and apartment buildings and office complexes. The temptations, the internet. Oh my goodness! In the last 20 years with the internet,
the dating sites,
exciting is everywhere. Just change partners and have fun and do this and do that. We are so tempted now with the covers of magazines and the internet for all these things, that the idea to have that ideal person isn't just Mary Lou, in the county. Now it's, I have 1,000 Mary Lou's and they're around me all the time. So this candy store mentality. So yes, everything is tremendously speeded up, and it's not good. We don't get to know somebody for 2 years.
So is that the yardstick, 2 years? You should get to know somebody for 2 years before you jump into a marriage?
Oh, yeah. A relationship needs to build. What I see a lot of is young people getting together and they fall in love. They go with this person 3 weeks or 3 months and they're in love. And I tell them, stop. Do this incrementally. You don't get to know somebody. For the first 6 months, you're all just dazzled by, looking at each other's eyes and exchanging ideas and concepts and hopes and body fluids. And, for 6 months, it just goes and go nutty. And then after that, the boundary snaps shut and you start to see things about this person that you didn't really like. Gee, you chew with your mouth open. I never noticed that. You leave your chonies on the floor. I thought that it was cute. Now it's disgusting. Do you ever put the seat down? We start to have these things that bother us, and
you don't find these things out for another 2 years.
For 6 months we don't look at it. Then for 2 years, let's look at.
Wait a minute. Wait, I got to stop you right there. So hang on, caller. So if this person isn't putting the toilet seat down, don't you notice that right away? It doesn't take you 2 years to figure that out, does it?
But for 6 months you won't notice.
For 6 months, you're not going to notice the toilet seat is up?
You can be in a relationship with anybody. You get 6 months on sex alone. You can be with Jack the Ripper for 6 months before you say, where do you go every night?
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Good morning. He said something very interesting right now about the 2 years. The problem is that there's a lot of women or young girls that they start dating somebody and they right away think about marriage. They could be going together for a year, then 2 years, and a lot of these girls, they want to get married right away. They don't want to wait 2-3 years. They want to get married now before somebody else takes them away. But I like to ask anybody. I have a friend who says, not all men cheat and not all women cheat. I go, hey, everybody has a chance to cheat once at least. And also, a lot of women, we have this idea that we meet a guy and he's got certain habits or ideas or whatever, and we think, oh, I'm going to change him when I marry him. You can't do that because you can be married to somebody for years. You still don't know everything about that person.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the old joke is that, men marry women hoping they stay the same, and women marry men hoping they'll change. And both are disappointed. And this is the basis of it. If you marry somebody, what is that old off-Broadway musical? I love you, you're perfect, now change.
Yeah.
And the best thing about the show is the title, but it's a great title. And that we marry somebody, and then after that 6 months of passion, excitement, and oh my God, having a hot sex, 5 times a day is great. And after that, we start to pull back and realize, well, now I got to pay bills. Now we got to cut the lawn.
Yeah, quickly before we go to break, so my parents were married 65 years. How'd they keep that flame going 65 years?
Look when
I
they
don't understand
Look
that.
where they got married. They got married back in the days when that's just what you did. You didn't have the temptations
Yeah,
around.
but they had many chances to go their separate ways, I'm sure. I don't know when that was.
Economics, children, family, culture, history. There's all kinds of
But
reasons
they
people
stuck
stay.
together
They did.
65 years.
Were they happy?
For the most part.
Okay.
For the most part. They had their ups and downs.
Everybody does.
They got in each other's face once in a while.
If they were happy for 65 years, God bless them. That's a beautiful
they weren't
thing.
happy the whole 65 years. Who is? But I mean, for the most part, I don't know. Let's
Wonderful.
take a call
Wonderful.
here before we go to break. Caller, you're on the air with Peter.
Thank you. Good show. Just an observation regarding the institution of marriage itself. It's we have two people that are in love, and then when they get married, they add a third party to the relationship, government. And so I think that the institution itself probably causes more divorces than if the people just were stayed in love and honored each other like they do before they get married. Because once they get married, there's a third party in the relationship, and it has external forces that entrap and so on. And so I just want to get your point of view on that.
Thank you. And again, listeners, wonderful questions. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate that. I don't know if government so much as the legal system. I suppose that's government in
Well,
the
I
loosest
can't
sense.
get divorced because I need my ex-husband's or my husband's health insurance, even
okay.
though we're not living together.
Yeah, okay. There are arrangements, and of course, society is just trying to make it comfortable for everybody. Also, the trend is to not get married so soon. I mean, despite the fact that young people do seem to want to get married very quickly, that's true. There are a lot of folks who say, why, I don't want to get married. I just want to, just live together and avoid all the hassle. So I think there is a trend saying that maybe marriage isn't the be-all and end-all, and maybe we should back off a little. 51% of marriages end in divorce, 75% of second marriages end in divorce. And frankly, if everybody who wanted to get a divorce actually got one, how many people do you think would be married?
I saw a number higher than that on the internet last night. It was 56%.
Yeah, maybe going up.
Is it going up, you think?
It could be. It has been steadily, yeah. Because, again, going back to those temptations, there are so many people around, and women now are... Used to be, in the old days, men were the dandies. They would get dressed up, and they would have the brocades and the silks and the buckles on their hat and whatnot. And that, over the last 100 years, has changed dramatically. Now it's the women who dress up. Traditionally, in the animal kingdom, it is the male with the finery. It is the male peacock with the big spread. It is the male lion with the big mane. It is the male baboon with the red butt, that attracts. And now it's shifted around, so now the women are the attractive ones. So we've sort of stood this whole concept on its ear a little bit.
Yeah. Caller, did that answer your question for you? Oh, gone. Okay. Well, anyway, I can't get this video out of my mind. I think it was in Seattle just a few weeks ago, the two mooses that were fighting on the driveway of someone's house. They were fighting over a female. Did you see that? I can't get that video out of my head. Love and marriage is alive and well in the animal kingdom, my friend. 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back here on the program talking about love and marriage and all the rest.
This is Tough TV, Tough Sports, Tough Lifestyle, Tough Drama, Tough Reality, Tough Talk, Tough Specials, Tough Movies, Tough TV.
Now on KVHF 4.2.
Are you tough enough?
I have sitting right next to me a very funny young man
who has some wonderful observations on bachelor life. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you.
Last time I told you that you have beautiful eyes. Now,
Yeah.
I hoped that by this time you would be married, because I like people to be married.
What are you hawking me?
I do.
Stop
because
hawking me.
I'm a real mother, and I want young men to be married.
Did you know that I was engaged?
No.
Okay, I was engaged.
When?
2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was
You're
engaged.
still engaged?
And let me tell you, no, I'm not engaged anymore. I was engaged, and I didn't do it. But let me tell you what it was like. Do you know what engagement is like? Have you been engaged, or you just got married?
No, I was engaged. What
Okay.
was it like for you?
Engagement to me is like the very first part of the roller coaster. You're not at the top. It's that first thing, you're just tick, 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 and you're looking around, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know what happens after you get engaged. I guess then you have that, that, I haven't done that.
When are you going to do that?
No, that part is too scary. Just so far, tick, tick, tick,
So
tick,
you
tick,
told
tick.
that girl goodbye? I don't want to get married?
You know what I said? The wedding was coming up. It was about 3 months to go to the wedding, and I said, no. I would say no. No, was what I would say. I would say
Oh, my God.
no.
And what did she say?
No.
And she said goodbye.
She said, yes, it was goodbye. That was it. See, I'm working all the time. I'm traveling all the time.
You're on shows, you come to
I'm
my
on shows. I'm on.
Yeah.
I go on shows and talk about sex. Who wants to be married to somebody like that?
Are you going to say to me that in between the shows that there isn't a woman?
Not this show.
Not this show.
No. Nobody wants you after you've been on this show. You know too much. They're intimidated. But you have changed sex for America.
I do.
You have changed sex. It's not
What
the
did I
same
do?
thing anymore.
Don't you tell me that it's less good now.
No, it's better now. Everyone knows it. Now it's like a sport. Now people suit up for the game.
You know, I remember that interview with Jerry Seinfeld and Dr. Ruth, of course, the sex doctor, and the story that Jerry Seinfeld told there, very common, right? Very common. You're going up that roller coaster, and then once you go down, it's like, okay, what am I in for? Okay, I'm getting out of here. I'm jumping off.
Well, you know those points you put up at the very first. We went through love and romance and understanding and empathy and all those things. Well, people don't. I love when a couple comes in and says we want to get some premarital counseling.
Yeah.
We're getting married, but
why is that important?
Because we want to figure out are we
parents never did that.
No, they didn't, and they just figured out as they went along and stumbled and fumbled the best they could. But it's also one of the reasons that 50% or 56%, as the case may be, of marriages end in divorce because we don't talk. We're all excited about the passion and the excitement, and we don't really understand who the other person is, and we don't really go through the empathy and the caring and the reciprocation. We don't do those things. Then it gets, why don't you do it this way? This damn thing again, and we start, I want it my way, and the other person's, I want it my way. We get selfish.
Yeah.
So communicating ahead of time when you have a problem, how do you solve it? How do you focus and identify a real problem? What are the answers to get there? Premarital counseling is wonderful.
Marital counseling
Love
works.
It. Love it. Love it when it happens, and it does work.
Okay.
Couples
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Well, basically what I wanted to say was, marriage really was invented by the religious groups. That's the only reason they did it, is so they can get more people in the churches and more people and more families to get together and give them more money. But in reality, people don't have to get married. The problem is when they go through the marriage vows, a lot of people don't live up to the vows that they made. In poorness and healthness and all this other stuff, they don't live with that. They don't actually do that. They actually kind of go sideways in many instances, and they don't deal with that. I know I saw a lot of that with a lot of my friends when the economy collapsed in 2008. I saw a lot of people that all of a sudden were getting separated and deteriorated and don't give me the vows and don't tell me this and don't tell me that. I mean, you have to understand that is a made-up thing. It's not really a natural thing. People can live together and be civil without having to be married. And it's just something that it's in kind of imbounded in people that they're supposed to do this, they're supposed to do it this way, they're supposed to go that way, but yet they don't live up to their vows.
But caller, stay there a second. I just want to ask you a quick question. Haven't we all been told if you're living together prior to marriage, oh my God, that's a sin. You are committing a sin. You are going to go to hell. Haven't you heard that? Caller?
Go ahead.
Yeah, did you hear my question?
No, I didn't.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, caller? Okay.
That's all made up. That's
Yeah.
all made up.
All right, I'll let Peter answer.
All of that is made up.
let's-
Marriage is made up. It's a made up thing. It's not really a natural thing. It's just something that somebody
Okay.
and religious groups decided to do it so that they
All
could
right.
get more people in their churches.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's look at this. This gives some historical perspective to this, because you make a very good point. The marriage ceremony was invented in the 14th century.
It was after Christ.
Yes, and the
So prior to Christ,
people just lived together.
They didn't get married.
They hooked up. There was no marriage. There was no such thing. They just stayed together. And of course, in those days, if you weren't married, then you were fair game to everybody. One of the reasons they put it, yes, the religious aspect, there is some truth to that.
14th century it started.
14th century, and the marriage ceremony was written by an abbot at the behest of the king, a man who was never going to get married. He wrote it. And one of the things, let's just look at this 1 second. One of the things they put in there was "till death do us part." Well, in the 14th century, you died when you were 29. So you married when you were 14, started having babies, and 9 out of 10 which died in childbirth, and by 29 years old, you were dead. So lifetime commitment was 12 years. Now it's 50 or 60. It's different.
Hang on, caller, hang on a second. But you've heard it before. If you live together, you're committing a sin.
Oh, sure.
You're going to go to hell.
Oh, sure. If you believe that.
If you believe that.
If you say,
and that comes from religion,
absolutely,
the Bible.
Absolutely. Whether they wanted to get more people in the church to make more money, and certainly that's a part of it, or whether they just want to have other people not be predatory.
But people get
to
married
women.
outside the church all the time.
Of course they
too.
do. So some of it is religious, some of it is just preference. So it's a good point, but there's more to it than that.
Okay, caller, you're on the air with Peter. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, I'm married, been married 20 years. My wife is 10 years younger than I am. And the problem is, she's winding up, and I'm already starting to wind down. You know what I mean? She's 40. I'm pushing for. I'm going to be 50 next year. But how do I best let her know that it's okay, go out there, do your thing. I'm not jealous. I don't worry about it. But she seems to think that she has to stay home because I don't want to go. And I was like, last night she was out with her sisters, having a good time in Fresno until about 10 o'clock at night. And by then, I'm already tucked in bed and ready for the next day's work. I mean, but how do I just talk to her to make it so it doesn't turn into a fight? Because she's always like, well, you don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to do anything. And I'm like, well, I'm on the way, on the other side of the thing. That's just my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you're talking about, working out the compatibility of the two individuals. It may be one person really likes to do a lot of activities. I see this all the time in my office. Somebody loves to do a lot of activities, and she's just not that athletic. Or he's very outgoing and charming and goes to groups, and she kind of stands by the wall and doesn't, is not involved in too much. Those opposites attracted each other, but they're difficult in social situations. But I like what you're saying. If you feel like you don't want to go out, that may be a problem for her, then okay, she goes out. Either she stays home with you and is not happy, or she goes out with her friends. And if you're fine with that, great, you've worked it out. Perfect. Good communication. If she resents staying home because you won't go out, doesn't like that you've been a stick in the mud, and, grumps that she has to stay home because you won't go, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how they work it out.
Okay, got to take a break here. We'll come back with Peter Nazaretian from the Fig Garden Counseling Group here on Connect With Me on MeTV Fresno in just a moment.
Tired of waiting and waiting and waiting just to see how the weather will be tomorrow? First Alert No Wait Weather with Austin Reed has you covered. Get tomorrow's forecast and the 5-day outlook in less than a minute and at a convenient time. Weeknights between 6 and 10 p.m. only on KVHF 4, KVDC 13, KPID 31, and VTV Fresno. First Alert No Wait Weather, brought to you exclusively by the Ventura Broadcasting Company.
Back here on the program, here on Connect With Me on MeTV Fresno. Let's put up that disclaimer real quick. Ask an Expert program here on Connect With Me. We asked Peter to come in of his own free will. He did, and he is the expert. I am not. I'm just your host, and we appreciate him being here as a regular. He is a marriage and family therapist with Fig Garden Counseling Center, and he has been doing this for many years. He is, believe me, he is an expert, much more so than I am. We do have a call. Caller, I'm going to ask you to hang on just a moment here. I will get to your call in just a moment. I got to ask Peter a question, though, about cheating. Okay, I was married for many years, only been married once, but every girlfriend that I've had and my wife never cheated once, never even thought about it. Okay, but that is a big, big stumbling block for many couples. How do you get over that?
Well, first of all, how do you get into it? The statistics tell us that approximately 60 to 80% of men will cheat in a marriage. It used to be women, it was about 25 to 30%. Now that number is closer to 50. So unfortunately,
are women and men doing it?
Yeah,
they're both doing it.
More so with men. Used to be, you know, to support what you were saying, very few or relatively few women would do it. Now it's they're closing the gap as women are in many ways. This is not one of the better ones, unfortunately. But yes, people can now realize that there are other options, or they're not happy in this relationship, or they want something more, or it's just different, and so they experiment. Is this? And for most people, let's be frank, for most people that's a deal breaker. Now, let's say that somebody cheats in a relationship.
For most people?
For most people. Some people get over it. Some people will realize, I wasn't paying enough attention to you. This is probably my fault. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can make this better. Other times, they've just gone as far as they can. Like, John, relationships have a shelf life. When you go to the store and you get a quart of milk, which quart of milk do you take out of the dairy case? And for most of us, we take about the third one back, because it has a longer expiration date. You take that and it's
How
like...
did you know I did that?
I secretly follow you. Real good. And in a relationship, you take that quart of milk home, this relationship, and you put it in your emotional refrigerator, and the expiration date vanishes. And then when you go every morning, you take it out and you open it up and you take a sniff and, okay, it's good, put it in your coffee, make a cake, and et cetera. And then one day, you've all had this experience out there, you take a quart of milk out of the fridge, you open it up and you go, ooh, what do you do with it? You dump it out because it's bad. But in relationships, what do? We quietly close it up, put it back in the emotional refrigerator, and hope it's better tomorrow. And if it stays there long enough, it'll turn into buttermilk. And maybe if it's really, really bad, it'll turn into yogurt, but we just don't get out.
Hang on, caller. I got to ask one more question to Peter. I'll get to you in just a moment here. So how do you get beyond that if you want to stay with that person and build that trust back up?
Well, now, trust is a huge piece, and we can talk about that in 1 second, because that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
All right. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, the therapist's analogy of the quart of milk ties in quite well with what I wanted to ask. Have you ever advised a couple to break apart? Not try to save it.
Good question.
I've got to be honest with you. As a therapist, I have no vested interest to keep you together with or apart from anybody. I want you to be happy and healthy. If you can be happy and healthy together, that's beautiful. You've already got established a relationship, maybe even some children involved. That's a big thing. If you're not happy and you're miserable with each other, despite what Shirley MacLaine says, you only go around once, and this is it. And if you're not happy, then you need to do something else. Now, I don't mean at the first sign of a problem, get out. I'm not talking about rough patch, bad day. We're going to stay and try to work that out.
But have you ever advised anybody?
Yes.
You have
Yes.
to get out?
Yes.
You have?
More than once.
More than once.
It's an unhealthy relationship. It's unhealthy to be with this person. They're not a good match for you. Don't do this. Don't make yourself miserable. Yes.
Caller, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Are you in a bad relationship? Caller?
I have been.
Are you in one now?
Putting him on the spot, John.
I would tend not to be able to answer that.
Okay, all right. I can appreciate that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to intrude. I apologize for that. But anyway, we wish you the best of luck, my friend.
And to both of you, too. Good
Okay,
day.
thank you for
Good
watching.
question.
Thank you for calling. Great question, and didn't mean to be so nosy. But anyway, he didn't give his name, so that was good. That's good. Okay, so this trust thing, I mean, how do you get beyond that? Because that's a huge mountain to climb.
It is. And trust is an interesting thing. Unlike many psychological issues.
Hang on, caller.
Trust is almost an arithmetic formula. Positive, consistent action plus time equals trust.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
Positive, consistent action plus time equals trust. Let me tell you what I do in the hospital. I say, what's your favorite ice cream cone? They say, chocolate. Okay, I'm going to come to your house every day at 4 o'clock and bring you a chocolate ice cream cone. Every day, 4 o'clock, okay?
Hang on, caller.
And how many days in a row would I have to show up at 4 o'clock with an ice cream cone before you'd be darn sure I'd show up the next day? And some people say 2-3 days. Some people say 2-3 weeks. Some people say never. So trust is positive, consistent action. You love me, you care for me, you're always there, you're kind, you're considerate, you're loving. And if I'm like that all the time, I get to trust you. But what if you get mad once in a while? What if you blow up? What if you threaten to leave and you do that on an occasional basis? Oh, I'm just steamed, I didn't really mean it. After a while, you can't trust that person.
You don't want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
Every time I start trusting somebody, I'll tune in on Saturdays if I'm not doing anything to 48 Hours Mystery, and I see this story on this hour story about this couple that got married, but one of the spouses, whether it be male or female, wanted to kill the other one for the insurance money. Then I go, oh my God, I can't trust anybody now.
It's
I'm
scary.
back to the old.
It's scary.
It's scary
Yeah.
out there. I know. I got a call. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Peter, a real quick question here. A couple of calls before, this gentleman talked about, I guess he trusts his wife to go out with his sisters or girls and all that.
Yeah.
And we make a lot of problems ourselves because a man lets the wife go out and have a good time because he doesn't want to go out. That is a signal that's going to make a marriage disappear. In other words, if he does that, he's not able to keep the spouse happy or whatever. And as a therapist and all that, I'm pretty sure you would say, hey, you know what? In order for this marriage to work, both of you need to keep this flame going.
Yeah.
And if it's only one party doing that, they're going to be looking the other way. And 50% of the time, I could tell you I'm right, because I've done it, but when I was young. But when you get older, flame goes off because, in my case, I didn't have my spouse there, anymore. Not because we divorced or anything, because she passed on. But the thing is, a lot of us can't keep that flame going on for a long time. She's younger, and he's going to be in the 50s. So how do you deal with that?
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a good one. Real quick, I think it depends on the individuals. If you have a strong, abiding relationship, or I love you, care for you, and I want you to be everything you can be, the best gift you can give in a relationship of any kind is allow that person to be who they are. And that's a hard thing to do because I want to control. I want you to not go here, dress like this, eat that food, watch that TV show.
It'll
do it
last
the way I do
longer
it.
if you do it that way.
Just let somebody be who they are. Best
Okay.
gift you can give them.
Quick 2 email questions. Is your guests, in your guest opinion, have men progressed beyond one-dimensional spouses? Are we getting more empathetic now in the 21st century?
I'd like to say yes to that question. I think it's individual. There's some men that are still cretinous, unfortunately, but I think generally speaking, we do have more availability to do that.
If men, another email question, if men and women are so fundamentally different, is this why so many women are on antidepressants?
I don't know. That's an interesting connection. I wouldn't put the medical part of it, but there is, men are from Mars, women are from Clovis. So we understand that this is very difficult to sometimes match up, and it does make it kind of tricky. So antidepressants, I think it's just a medical way of coping with issues. If you're depressed because you don't like your marriage, I think this is more than medication.
Should you approach a relationship differently at the age of 60, like me, as opposed to somebody who's 30 or 35? And what should I be doing differently to make a relationship flourish?
Hopefully, if we get to a certain age in our life,
same fundamental principles as apply at the age of 35 as they do at 60?
Fall in love. Well, first of all, every man wants a 35-year-old, so that no matter what age.
I'm not talking about a 35-year-old. I'm not talking about me going out and getting a 35-year-old.
Right.
I'm just talking about anybody that I find that I have that I'm having a relationship
You're going to have that honeymoon at the beginning. It's always
Do
there.
I still have to wait 2 years?
It'd be advisable.
Okay.
Now, as you get older, obviously, you want to condense that. On the plus side, if you're older, theoretically, you already bring more knowledge into the relationship, so it's not like a kid trying to figure this out. Jerry was talking about that tick, 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 tick of the roller coaster. Well, you get to be 60 years old, you kind of know a few things, so I see some integrity. You have a track record with me. I can look back and see how you are as a human being. A little easier to spot that stuff when you're older.
Yeah. Peter, good to see you.
Always.
I think I'll see you next month, I believe.
I'll look
I gotta
forward
look
to
at the
it.
calendar there.
Thank you, John. Always a
All
pleasure.
right.
And to our viewers, thank you for your wonderful questions. I look forward to being with you again soon.
Yeah, phone number real quick.
Sure, 252-9700, 252-9700.
All right, Peter Nazaretian, thank you. Marriage and family counselor at the Fig Garden Counseling Center, and you can call him anytime that you feel like you have to talk to somebody. All right, 436-MeTV, option 11 is our number here. We'll see you back with another program on Monday. Have a great weekend.